Hey there, good morning, afternoon, evening, and welcome back to another Genshin related video, and it is another event review. Previously we did the Three Realms Gateway and the Lantern Rite Festival as they were the main events, and today we're looking at the main event of this patch, which is the Irodori Festival, the first Inazuma festival and first big Inazuma focused event. And I mean, I didn't do a first day review on it because the first day didn't actually have anything because they decided to release the minigames of the event like slowly as the days went by, and that meant that the first day was really nothing. There was of course the story, like prologue you can say of the story, and then one part of one minigame, so that didn't really do much. So yeah, it wasn't, video worthy to talk about the first day as I did with something like Lantern Rite. So the final day is upon us. Well, not fully. Some minigames still have like one stage left, but that's really nothing. The full range of minigames and the story has concluded. So right now is the prime time to talk about the event, and that's what we're gonna do. So let's immediately start with the main thing being the story. I have to say, finally we got an actually good story for an event. Like the previous festival events, those being the Moon Chase Festival and the Lantern Rite Festival, were both abysmal stories. They had minimal character interaction with multiple of the characters of any nation really, and also they were just bad. Both of them also had Kaching as your partner in the story, and she's not that well written. Also, in the Archon quest, the main quest, you see her once or twice, so it's really like the Traveler doesn't actually know her, let's be fair, because she hasn't appeared anywhere else except for those festivals. And those were just bad stories with bad plots in general anyway. While with the Irodori Festival, there's actually an interesting plot with various characters who all do lots of things, and it's just, again, an actually good and interesting story. It's a story that I didn't just completely ignore and spam the skip button. I actually fast read it. I didn't I didn't autoplay it, but I just went quickly over it because it actually, again, had some kind of interesting parts. Because good characters were involved in it, and also multiple characters were involved in it, not just one. And it's, I expect this to be the standard for future events. And, I ain't gonna lie, did you notice that most of the characters in the main story, I mean, I could say all of the characters in the main story were males? I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that the female characters are written so badly compared to the male characters, but I don't know. Ayaka appeared for the last 2 days. She didn't do much. The focus was mostly on male characters. I'm not saying anything, but there was actually a good range of characters. Not only that, as the days went by, you unlocked side quests, side stories, which included the other Inazuma characters. Instead of them being reduced to one line, "Hey, do you remember me?" in the main quest, like it was in Moon Chase and Lantern Rite, they take full on the front of these side quests, and they show good character. Especially, of course, I think one of the big ones is the Ito quest, because Ito is a very well written and really well played character by the voice actors as well. And they do a nice story with him. Yes, it's kind of been memed because of the Banes, but still, it was an actually good interaction with Ito, Toma. There was the story quest with Sayu, a character that hasn't been seen, at any point, really. But Sayu did play a good role. She, again, wasn't reduced to just a one-liner, "Hey, do you remember me?" or background object even. They actually went and gave some freaking lines to these characters and some screen time, because holy fuck, all of the previous events again just had them as a "do you remember me?" Hey, do you remember these Liyue characters? Yeah, here they are, one line, they're gone, goodbye. Oh yeah, here they are in the last cutscene. Yeah, you just remember them. No, this is a much better execution compared to those to those stories, and like the Irodori festival just completely like just demolishes them. Not even close when it comes to story with previous events, even Windbloom, like anything, just not even close. So yeah, the story was good. I give it a very big thumbs up. Much better than previously. There was definitely a bit of like back and forth between Norito and the Inazuma city. There was a lot of it, but it was harmless because, well, we can teleport. But yeah, thankfully it was finally a breath of fresh air with a good freaking story. So let's move on to the other parts of the event. Like one note to make is that the menu was kind of clunky to navigate. Like there were too many sub menus, I have to say, that were not needed. Like you had to go to the events menu, press a button to go into one menu, click on one of the pictures of the Kaisen, what they were called, and then go and then pick one of the quests and pick one of the side one part of the quest. Like they were just really clunky, and they didn't need so many sub menus for each of the like stuff, and then another menu was for the main quest and the side quests. Like too many menus, felt really weird to navigate. I mean, I did get used to it by the end, but like it wasn't really like these kinds of menus aren't that good, I must say. And then let's get to the other main part of the event, the minigames. So we got like 4 minigames this event that, as I said, were introduced slowly as the days went by. We'll tackle them in a specific order because I wanna keep the best for last, and I think you easily know what's coming in last. So first minigame was a photo kind of thing. You asked some poets, and they asked you to get some pictures of stuff, and you went and got pictures, and then you delivered them back to them, and that gave them inspiration, and then you can fill in a part of a poem. It was nothing crazy, although I would have liked it to be like have a mission for each nation, because it was two of the parts of this minigame were for Inazuma, one for the animals and one for specialties, and then it was the Mondstadt specialties. It would have been, I think, a bit nicer if there was, Inazuma specialties, Ligio specialties, and then Mondstadt specialties, because that would have been cool, It would have been a nice balance instead of, again, being more, you should either have it all on Inazuma or more spread out. That's how it should be, I think. But it was nothing significant, really. It was a fine enough starting minigame, I guess. Then we have the Pyrimidi Game that is also pretty fine. It's definitely an interesting minigame with a very interesting mechanic. I mean, anybody who has played Beidou and has been using Yunjin for the past for their playtime in Genshin should definitely be good at this minigame, but it's not anything crazy hard as well. It most likely is kind of a testing ground for new mechanics, perhaps. Maybe a character that is more focused on pairing, or something, again, more of a new mechanic that's gonna come around in the future, or anything, maybe a boss or an enemy that will have some sort of pairing mechanic, or, again, anything. It was fine, it is fine, again, it still hasn't fully concluded, it's like one more stage, but they're not, the difficulty of this minigame isn't that hard, it's over pretty quickly, and again, it's just a cool thing. I mean, if you've played, Dark Souls, any hack and slash game, I mean, Nier Replicant had a pairing mechanic, you're already a god in these kinds of, pairing minigames, so hey. And then we have the flower minigame, where you have to construct a pot of flowers based on a picture. They call it a theme, but you're just copying the picture because the theme doesn't exactly tell you fully what to pick. It's fine. After a certain amount of time, they do give you the full hints on what to use. And I mean, I did one of them without the hints because it was pretty easy. But it's nothing. It's pretty harmless. It's a fine enough minigame. Although, once you start the minigame, you're just bombarded with an excessive amount of furnishings for the Serenity Pot. And then you get, of course, a few furnishings for finishing each of the stages. But, you get so many furnishings, And as of now, you cannot place any of them because the Serenity Pot placement and editing mechanic is broken. So, it's kind of like a shove them up your ass, really. And I mean, do you know how much load limit your ass has? Huh? Time to find out, I guess. But if you can't use them in the Serenity Pot, I mean, what's the point? So it's kind of a tease, again, especially when you first start the minigame. Like, you are seriously bombarded with furnishings. At least that's what happened with me, and I was like, oh my god, please make it stop. Like, so many furnishings. I finished the first stage of the flower minigame, and I still had the furnishings showing up as new, and I was like, stop, please stop. But yeah, for those that use the Serenity Pot, it's understandable that they would feel very bad that MiHoYo still hasn't fixed the mechanic, and you can't place anything. Especially you can't place any characters. I need that Ayato Friendship XP, MiHoYo. Get on it quick. And last is, of course, Theater Mechanicus. Oh, baby, you all know what's coming. So, if if this is your first experience with Theater Mechanicus, it's not like this normally, I would have to tell you. We had Theater Mechanicus appear in last year's Lantern Ride, that was the introduction, and then it also had a Theater Mechanicus focused event on Inazuma, like close to its release. Close to Inazuma's release. And those were okay-ish. I would say that the first iteration was the best, most true to a tower defense. That's what Theater Mechanicus is a tower defense game. While the second one had the problem with the Wondrous Sticks, where you just spammed them as you were in the game, and it just didn't feel nice, just having to constantly draw the Wondrous Sticks as, your towers were destroying the enemies. This time, we have what can easily be said is the worst iteration of Theater Mechanicus, and what I can easily tell you is one of the worst game designed anythings in my entire life. Holy shit, who the heck thought of this Theater Mechanicus? So, quickly to get over the rules of it, you have some already placed Mechanici, the towers, and then you can also build extra Mechanici. You don't get a lot of points by just killing enemies as it was previously. You have to do some special things to get points, the Beneficus points, which allow you to build the Mechanici, or you just don't. You must wait and kill enemies. And the main thing is that you also have a limited selection of Mechanici to build, at least in the first 3 stages. And not only do you have a limited selection, you also have a limited amount of each Mechanici that you can build. And it's just wow. First of all, the way you lose Theater Mechanicus previously is that if a certain amount of enemies passed through the end gate, you lost. You were losing health, basically. It's called leaking, that's what it is, in, tower defense terms. And that is a pretty standard thing for tower defenses to have, where don't let a certain amount of enemies pass through the end point. Now, it doesn't matter. The enemies just keep spawning. There are no waves where you can set up or change up the Mechanici before the next wave of enemies start. The enemies just come, and if they leave through the end point, nothing happens. You just don't get the points. And that's just, first of all, that's just bad. Like, you just completely nullify the point of a tower defense, where you need to kill the enemies. You must kill the enemies, else you will lose. It's either the enemies pass through the end point and you lose, or there are too many enemies on the stage. That's another way of handling a tower defense. This is just complete bullshit. And I understand that this time Theater Mechanicus isn't the focus of the event. Last year's Lantern Night, Theater Mechanicus was a very big part of it, and then again, Theater Mechanicus had a standalone event, so it was the main focus. But even then, like, why not just stick to what wasn't broken? Like, change a few things, but don't change the core gameplay of Theater Mechanicus if it isn't the main focus of the event or the main minigame of the event. But the big one is like, oh baby. The big one has to do with the enemies and the stages. The stages were reused, that's fine, like the layouts are fine. There's nothing bad with reusing layouts of stages for the tower defense. There's plenty of them as well, so that's perfectly fine. The problem is the freaking enemies and the towers. As I said, you have a limited selection of towers that you can place in each stage. At first you have like the Electro and Pyro ones and the Anemo ones for like the offensive ones. Then you have the Water, Ice and Physical ones. And then you are a bit more free where they give you basically all of them. The first stage, right, you can build the Anemo ones, which do kind of fuck all. They don't deal that much damage, but they're kind of fine. They're mostly there because the main way to get extra points in that stage is to knock enemies out of the arena, out of bounds, and they fall to their death, and that's how you get points. That's good, but still, the wind ones aren't that powerful. And then you got the Pyro ones and the Electro ones. And then they go and put up Electro Slimes. Why would you put Electro Slimes in the game mode where your characters, of course, don't deal damage because this is, it's a tower defense. The main focus is the towers versus the enemies. Why the heck would you put an enemy that completely nullifies one of the towers that mainly deal damage? Because then you must focus on building the Pyro ones in order to counter all of the enemies. But no, you have a certain amount of Pyro ones that you can build. And the funny thing is that at the start of the round, at the start of the stage, the Electro Slimes spawn on one side, one like route of enemies, and then on the latter half, they spawn on the other one. So no matter where you build like more Pyro, like out of your 3 Pyro towers that you can build, no matter where you build them, the Electro Slimes will 100% go to where you have placed most of the Electro ones. So again, most of your towers are complete garbage. And then they have like these banishment towers that are completely, absolutely useless. Like we're talking seriously useless. I don't know who thought of those. They are absolutely useless. And when you destroy them, you get fuck all Mechanicus points, so you can't actually replace them with a useful tower. And even if you could, once again, you have a limited number of towers that you can build out of each one, not just an overall limited amount. So that's complete bullshit. And then of course they have like and then they have the Ruin Guards, right? Like 2 out of the 3 stages, or like 3 out of 4 stages have Ruin Guards and Ruin Graders in them. In the first stage, right, you don't have the Water and Ice ones to freeze them because these guys just walk. They cannot be like pushed back, of course. You can't drop a Ruin Guard with the Anemo Tower. So what do you think? Alright, I'll pick a bow user and stun the Ruin Guards at least, because Ruin Graders can be stunned by hitting them in the eye. So you say, I'll pick up a bow user to hit the Ruin Guard in the eye to stun them so that my Electro and Pyro towers, who attack slowly by the way, especially the Pyro ones, so that they can take care of them or at least deal a lot of damage while they are incapacitated. Well, fuck you, the game says, because if the Ruin Guards are stunned, they regenerate HP. Why the fuck would you put a buff like that to these enemies? And again, what's the counterplay then? If I can't stun them, and I can't freeze them because I don't have the towers necessary, you don't have the Cryo Towers, nor do you have the Hydro Towers, so that you can bring a Hydro or Cryo character, so what the fuck are you supposed to do? You just let them walk, because you can't do anything to these Ruin Guards. Like, absolute bullshit. And of course then, as I said, there are Ruin Graders. So what are you gonna do with the Ruin Grader? You can't do anything. Like, you just absolutely can't do anything. There are these stage bridges where you can turn them off and the guy will just drop down, but these also have a cooldown. And these guys spawn immediately. Like, once one is down, the other will spawn. So, until the cooldown of the bridge is over, at least 1 or 2 have already spawned, so you just can't activate the breach because it's on cooldown. And then it gets even worse. First of all, each stage has 2 difficulty settings, if you can call them that. The normal difficulty and the harder difficulty. And the normal difficulty is a bit hard because your towers just aren't strong enough and you cannot upgrade your towers. The towers have already predetermined stats, and yes, you can pick the wondrous sticks at the start before you start the stage, but they don't do that much. Like, even with the wondrous sticks, even if you pick attack increase and attack speed increases on your towers, they still don't deal enough damage to enemies to really like easily take care of them, even on normal difficulties. And then they have the freaking audacity to include this harder difficulty on the stages where the enemies have substantially increased HP. Not just an HP bump, a small HP increase, a substantial one. Why the fuck would you do that? Why the fuck would you have it be like that? If I can't upgrade my towers, if I can't make my towers stronger, why should the enemies become stronger? They shouldn't, because now I can't kill them, especially the Ruin Guards and Graders who already had lots of HP, and I can't stun them to deal some extra damage. So it's absolutely insanely badly designed. And then in the second stage, it gets worse. In the second stage, you've got the Hydro Towers, the Cryo Towers, and the Physical Turrets. Those are your main DPS turrets. And then they put Hydro Slimes, so 1/3 of your towers is completely useless. And then they also put Ruin Guards again. So that means that your Crack Shot, the physical tower, is absolutely useless because Ruin Guards and Graders, of course, have physical resistance and very high physical resistance to the point, again, where the Crack Shot is absolutely useless. And then they have the audacity to make it so that if the Ruin Guards and Graders are frozen, that they regenerate HP. So that means that all 3 of your DPS towers are absolutely useless. Why the fuck would you make it like that? Who the fuck thought that this was a good idea? Who thought of this? Like, seriously, whoever thought of this, or if it is a person or a team, they need to get the fuck out of this team, out of this game. They need to be fired, and I'm not even joking. Such a design philosophy must be the dumbest thing I've seen in my entirety of playing video games. Just absolutely insane. I bet you it's the same people that designed the previous Abyss rotation, where floor 11 was clearly designed to fuck the player by freezing them or overloading them. I bet you it's the same people. They need to get the fuck out of designing things. Because again, your Crack Shot is useless because the Ruin Guards are physically resistant, and again, very highly resistant, not just 20%, 30%, no, 70%. Like, physical attacks do nothing against them, and then the other 2 towers that you've got, which are the Hydro and Cryo ones, like, they do nothing. Well, actually, they heal the enemies. You know the joke? I'll pull on this character even if they heal enemies. Well, welcome. Well, here it is, baby. Your towers heal the enemy, because if they are frozen, then they heal up. Like, who thought of this? And if you're like, well, I'll deconstruct my Hydro Towers, right? Yeah, you're gonna deconstruct them, but you're not gonna get a lot of Mechanicus points back, so you're not gonna be able to like build more Crack Shots or Freeze Towers or like Cryo Towers. And as I said, you have a limited number of Cryo and Physical Towers, so you cannot build enough to, you know, like proc superconduct well and reduce the resistance of the enemies. And even if you try, like, I built Cryo and Physical Towers, and I also got the Wondrous Stick, which makes it so that the Crack Shot reduces enemies' physical resistance even more when it procs superconduct, and that did jack shit to the Ruin enemies. So, like, wow, just congratulations. Like, again, I just don't understand. You literally say that, okay, one of your towers doesn't deal damage, and the only way to keep these motherfuckers in place heals them. Just, like, again, I'm just gone. Just gone. And then, of course, there's the harder difficulty with where they have, like, even more HP. Like, why? And then the last stage, believe it or not, like there's 4 stages, but the last stage is the best one. Why? Because there's actually a way to buff your towers. First of all, in the fourth stage, you have every single tower you want. I think except for the crack shot, or I think actually you still have it. But you have every kind of elemental tower you want. So you can easily build whatever you want. And also you have plenty of Beneficus points because of the enemies. You have plenty of Beneficus points to build and rebuild. And then you also have a buff where if you build less than 10 Mechanici, you get a damage boost. And that's it. And in the normal difficulty, it's easy if you use the buff. And in the harder difficulty, it's also pretty easy because you have a way to buff your towers. And it's a significant buff. So why wasn't this every single stage? And also it doesn't include enemies that are just bullshit. First of all, it doesn't include Ruin Graders or Ruin Guards. And you can, again, with you being free to build any kind of elemental tower, you can counter every single enemy no matter which route they spawn in. Like, 1 or 2 freeze towers can easily take down any sort of like Hydro Abyss mages. And if you build 1 Electro 1 Pyro tower, even close to the end portal, they can easily destroy the Cryo Abyss mage. Or of course you can just bring a Pyro character. Like, holy fuck. Just that. Holy fuck. This Theater Mechanicus was just abysmally designed. And I've seen like a few like things, a few people saying, oh, just look up a guide on YouTube and just do it. No, if that is the way to win on how to like go through these stages by just looking up a guide, you have completely failed at designing a video game. You have like having the solution be look up a guide is the worst thing you could ever do to the design of your video game. Just horrendous. And I'm sorry, but Theater Mechanicus like completely ruined my enjoyment of this event. I was happy doing the story. The other minigames were perfectly fine, but every day I left Theater Mechanicus last and I was dreading the moment I would start each stage and see the bullshit that they have done. It was abysmal. Absolutely abysmally designed. And I wish that it fucking never comes back, at least this way, or just get these motherfuckers out. Those people that designed this kind of Theater Mechanicus, get them the fuck out of this game. They do not deserve to be designing things. Get them out. And that's it for the Irodori Festival. Overall, it was good. It has the best story out of every festival. It appreciates the side characters, but giving them plenty of screen time. And at least 3 out of the 4 minigames were finally enjoyable, with 1 completely ruining the experience. I'm sorry if I sound very negative, but it really hurts me as a person that has like not necessarily studied, but I know a lot about game design. And I see games and I see them how they are designed, like, and I'm not bragging here. Like that's how I see things. That's just me. And it really hurts me to see this kind of thing. This is their 3rd try at Theater Mechanicus. You would freaking guess that they have learned their mistakes from the previous one. Yet it doesn't feel like it. It does not feel like it. They just completely just deleted everything that the previous Theater Mechanicus had and said, let's do some bullshit. And that's what they did. So sorry for that. I seriously hope you enjoyed the Irodori Festival at least, especially the story. And I hope to see you in another video. See ya.